Hello. It's been a while, but as I've been perusing my Twitter feed, as I do now instead of making videos, I'm very sorry about that. I came across something I just don't think I could ignore. And it kind of ties into clarifying more and more what my ideology is, what my political views are, and kind of what really differentiates me, and I guess this kind of sphere on the internet of conservatives from either the Ben Shapiro PragerU kind of light classical liberal conservative and the alt-right. I just call them the racialist right. The racialist left would be basically racial nationalism for all the other races. Racialist right would be racialism for white people. Because I tend to classify people's ideologies or these movements based essentially on what their core values are. And, i.e., if you're a classical liberal, your core values are individual liberty. If you're, I would say, traditionalist Christian right would be your primary value is Christianity. And so, I find it interesting with, say, the racialist right that a lot of our policies would probably be very similar in terms of what we want to enact. Like I want to get rid of almost most or all immigration, deport large numbers of illegal immigrants and criminal immigrants, and stop all the anti-white stuff in education and the media, not just for my own, self-interest, but the fact that being a Christian, I think it's dehumanizing and degrading and attacks the dignity of the person for just being of European descent. Though these people don't see it that way, these people take it to the idea of worshiping their race, which again, we've heard all this before. I don't like it, and we know why. But really, for me, what I really don't like most about the alt-right, or the racialist right, as I'm going to call them, is the fact that they don't really seem to understand what civilization is, or what creates it, at least what makes Western civilization. And I think, even though that's a bit abstract, this is a really good example. So anyways, I was going through my Twitter feed, and I guess I found one of these guys said, let's celebrate, on this day in 2013, Dominic Venner took his own life in Notre Dame de Paris. Please take a moment today to read about this incredible man. A good place to start is with his suicide note. So, already off to a great start. Based on the context, this is going to be some white nationalist who offed himself in Notre Dame Cathedral, which already makes me kind of think he's a piece of shit, sorry for the language, for desecrating a holy temple. But clearly this guy knows about Western civilization, or he did. And I'm not going to make light of suicide. It's a real issue. Bizarre that anybody on the alt-right would be trying to portray it as a positive thing, considering they have the golden opportunity of getting young disaffected Western males to not kill themselves, since they are at an unprecedented rate because they think the whole world's out to get them. But I digress. Let's read the article. Or read a suicide note. Again, this is pretty macabre for my stuff. This is from May 21st, 2013. I am healthy in body and mind. I am filled with love for my wife and children. I love life and expect nothing beyond, if not the perpetuation of my race and my mind. However, in the evening of my life, facing immense dangers to my French and European homeland, I feel the duty to act as long as I still have strength. I believe it necessary to sacrifice myself to break the lethargy that plagues us, which obviously didn't work because immigration's still just as bad. And, I've never heard of this guy. I give up what life remains to me in order to protest and to found. I chose a highly symbolic place, the Cathedral of Notre Dame de Paris, which I respect and admire, but obviously have absolutely no understanding of where it came from or what it means. She was built by the genius of my ancestors on the site of cults still more ancient, recalling our immemorial origins. Yep, there we go. There's the kind of neo-pagan, our race, has this like mystical upbringing and origin. While many men are slaves of their lives, my gesture embodies the ethic of will. I give myself over to death to awaken slumbering consciences. I rebel against fate. I protest against poisons of the soul and the desires of invasive individuals to destroy the anchors of our identity, including the family, the intimate basis of our multi-millennial civilization. While I defend the identities of all people in their home, I also rebel against the crime of the replacement of our people. The dominant discourse cannot leave behind its toxic ambiguities, and Europeans must bear the consequences. Lacking an identitarian religion to moor us, we share a common memory going back to Homer, a repository of all the values on which our future rebirth will be founded once we break with the metaphysics of the unlimited baleful sources of all modern excesses. Even though suicide is one of the hallmarks of the problems of modernity. I apologize in advance to anyone who will suffer due to my death. First and foremost, my wife, my children, my grandchildren, as well as my friends and followers. We'll get to this. But once the pain and shock fade, I do not doubt that they will understand the meaning of my gesture and transcend their sorrow with pride. I hope that they shall endure together. They will find in my recent writings intimations and explanations of my actions. Okay, so let's rap about this for a second. So, again, this guy has desecrated a sacred temple already, showing he actually doesn't admire this place in any capacity because, as we all know, suicide in Christianity and Judaism, I don't know if it's what the stance is in Islam or other religions, but in terms of Christianity, and I think going back to Judaism, suicide is like one of the most horrific sins you can commit. Not only because of the fact that you're essentially just you're extinguishing the gift of life God gave you, as opposed to, people have other reasons for murder, whereas when you kill yourself, you're doing it literally just because you're rejecting the idea that I was given this life and I don't want it. And then even, more concerning for the person's soul and why it's such a big no-no is the fact that you murder somebody, there's still a chance for you to confess your sins and, get absolved of your sins. Whereas if you kill yourself, you can't do that because you killed somebody and now you're also dead. So again, this is bizarre, as I said earlier, that suicide is a epidemic among young Western males who feel very disaffected. And yet now these same people that probably think this is a bad thing that's happening are going to, elevate and idolize this guy who did just that because of the fact that he hates, and it's bizarre. It's like, what on earth is that going to do? It's just kind of proving, I'm another statistic of how modernity is killing people. He's just a statistic. He's not actually doing anything other than desecrating a sacred temple. And that's the kind of heart of what I wanted to get to. And it's an interesting comparison. And it's like, this isn't like a big brain horseshoe theory. It's more like, it's my idea that there's a similarity I found between people doing this. Like Varg Vikernes burning churches. There's a similarity between this and the people destroying all the Confederate statues. It's people that are so narrow-minded and devoted to their ideology that they can't comprehend what their actions are affecting, in terms of, this guy doesn't know what Notre Dame actually meant, and neither did the guy that tweeted this. And people destroying the Confederate statues have no idea why they are actually built, and they don't care. This guy doesn't care about Christianity. He walked into this building and he saw, he would have seen Jesus and didn't consider the significance of that in any way, shape, or form. No, he had to pull the stupid stunt in one of the most famous churches in the world. Pretty disgusting. And it's like if you took a flat earther. This is how pig-headed and this is how thick these people are, right? It's like taking a flat earther and putting them on the moon. Complete, irrevocable proof that the Earth is round and that space exists, and them still having to go on their tirade about how the Earth is flat and everything is being covered up, with no comprehension of where they are. It's like Notre Dame Cathedral was built for Christianity. It was not built for the white race, and it wasn't, and I guess to kind of wrap this up, like, if you really want to know who's going to inherit Christian civilization and who's going to actually further Western civilization, it's both the men who built Notre Dame Cathedral. They actually did something great that's been, remembered for all ages by living and working and building, not killing themselves and being a bourgeois academic. And same thing is what's going to continue Christendom is you should still look up that beautiful video of French Catholics kneeling and praying and singing hymns when Notre Dame Cathedral was burning. Those are the people that are going to inherit and continue civilization. Not this guy, and not the alt-right. Anyways, hope I can make more videos soon. God bless.